Right, family? So I just want to take this time out real quick just to share something with y'all. A video I had with my brother, Rahiem Shabazz, this weekend. For those of y'all who don't know our brother Rahiem Shabazz is the brother that did the documentary Elementary Genocide Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3. That brother did that, and he went in on that, and that was real good. All right, there go the link that's inside. Get your tickets now in advance. Don't wait till the last minute. This is going to be a powerful event. Sarnetta TV Awards is going down. All right. And family, it was powerful, man. So I interviewed brother Rahiem Shabazz. I didn't know who the brother was. Okay. And now I see why he won the award at the Black Power Awards. At first I was like, how the hell this dude beat out Tariq Nasheed? But I still believe and feel that Tariq Nasheed should have won that award, but it was up to the people. So who am I? I'm just the voter. You know, just like it's going to be on this awards, it's going to be up to the people to say who decides to win. But Rahiem, his work is a work of mainly targeting the young people that's out there, the kids, the youth, the elementary schools, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? That's what his work is basically on. It's dealing with the young people, the school system, the prison pipelines. And the brother got some powerful people in his documentary. Yes. So without any further ado, I'm just talking to y'all. I want to go right into the video because I know a lot of y'all waiting on that All-Star game. So the video is only maybe about an hour long. You know what I'm saying? It's only about an hour long. Peace and Black Power, family. Welcome to another Sarnetta TV House of Consciousness production. You already know what it is. If y'all don't know who we got on the screen, we're about to surprise you right now. We got the man, Rahiem Shabazz. If you don't know who that is, if you got Elementary Genocide, Part 1 and 2, and 3 is out too right now. I didn't see 2 or 3, but I'm going to go and check that out. If y'all didn't see that, can you hold up Part 1 for me, my brother?
This is Part 1 right here.
That's Part 1. Yes, got it. And then, so without any further ado, I want to bring to you Brother Rahiem Shabazz. Brother Rahiem, talk to the people, introduce yourself, and then go right in on what motivated you to do these documentaries, you know, Elementary Genocide. Talk to the people.
As you stated, my name is Rahiem Shabazz, and I am an award-winning documentary filmmaker. And the name of my documentaries is Elementary Genocide, and it's a documentary series. The first one is called Elementary Genocide, the School-to-Prison Pipeline, and that's this one right here. And essentially what this documentary talks about is how the government and the school system looks at the 3rd and 4th grade reading level to determine how many prisons they're going to build in the next 10 to 15 years. And then within those 10 to 15 years, they sell these prisons on the stock market with several private prison corporations. One of them that is mostly known to the public is one that's called CCA. And if you go to their website, the model of this private prison is, if we build it, they will come. And they haven't been wrong thus far. So that's the first one. And then the second one is called Elementary Genocide 2, the Board of Education versus the Board of Incarceration. And with this documentary, what we did is we went back to the landmark ruling of Brown versus Board of Education, and we asked the proverbial question, has it done more harm than good? And as you know, integration has done us more harm than good. Because if you go back in history, when we was educating ourselves, we produced grandmaster teachers such as individuals like Benjamin E. Mays. We also produced individuals like Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X, individuals that were self-taught. And also, what happened during this landmark ruling is that they integrated the teachers and not the students. So that's that documentary. And this is the third and final one of this installment. And this is Elementary Genocide 3, and this is called Academic Holocaust. And with this documentary, we want to show that the assassination of your mind, the assassination of your critical thinking is no different than the assassination of unarmed youth in the streets of North America. I might say the hells of North America. So that's what the documentary series is, and we have been touring the country and raising the vibrational pitch of our people and teaching them what is going on in the school system. Family, let me explain something to you. When you look at the Board of Education and you look at the public school system, it's predominantly white individuals that are teaching.
But hold on. Before you even get into that, I want you to let our people know a little more about you. Tell us about you. Where did you come from? How did you get into this this documentary? And you are now taking on this project and you are making it personal. Why is this so important for you to get this knowledge and information and inspiration to the hands of our people? First, let's talk about your background. Where did you come from, brother?
All right, to answer your first question, I grew up on the unruly streets of Harlem. I was born in Harlem and raised in Harlem in the Bronx. And I started out, like many of my peers, on the wrong side of the law. And I come from a family that was engulfed in generational poverty. And I might add, myself was aided and embedded by a failing school system. So at a young age, at 16, I began to get in trouble. I went to Rikers Island, got in trouble several different times, and eventually I went upstate. And while I was incarcerated, I didn't even have a GED. I wound up getting my GED within 30 days. I went on to teach adult basic education to other inmates. I went on to go to college, and I graduated in the top 5% of my class 8 days before I got released. And one of the things that I knew was that education was the great equalizer, because once a man is able to think and able to see things from his perspective, then everything else starts to make sense to him. Why are we being oppressed? Why are individuals not educated to the degree that they should be? So while I was incarcerated and I was doing research, I began to see that 85% of those that was incarcerated with me comes from 7 neighborhoods in New York City. And I began to look at these 7 neighborhoods, look at the poverty rate, the disparity in health. And then it led me on to illiteracy and how a lot of individuals that come to jail don't have basic education. So this initially started me on the path of having a determined idea. But the determined idea didn't manifest itself because I started doing journalism. So a lot of people know me as a hip-hop journalist. I have written for The Source. I have written for Vibe, XXL Magazine. And I did that for a while until traditional media was no longer traditional media. It was no longer print media. Everything went to the website. I started doing that for a little while. And then I put out a short film, and it was called The Sun Will Rise. I won several awards, and I became an apprentice on Tyler Perry's set. And I was supposed to be apprentice for 3 days. And on my third day, I wind up talking myself into getting a job, and I wind up working on 4 different movies with the Tyler Perry studio. But as you can see, I'm unapologetically black, and I don't fit into the Hollywood mold. So I still wanted to do films, and I wanted to do something that resonates with myself as well as my people, because it was the great Marcus Garvey that said that intelligence rules the world and ignorance carries a burden. And I never wanted to be a burden for our people. So I said, let me do something that will be beneficial. And that's when the determined idea of doing Elementary Genocide came to tuition. Within the last month, I have been to Virginia, I have been to D.C., I have been to Maryland. I'm getting ready to go back to Alabama, to Miles College. Tomorrow, I'll be at Medgar Evers College in Brooklyn. I'm also going to Little Rock, Arkansas. I have another event in Tampa, Florida, April 8th. It's called the First Annual Sovereignty Summit. So I've been all over the place. I've been in Oregon. Our biggest screening has been at the Beverly Hills Theater on the West Coast, Atlanta, just all over the place, brother.
Why is this important to you? Why is it so important to you, brother?
It's more personal to me because people don't realize that, like I said earlier, education is the great equalizer. You know, a lot of people think financially, if we empower ourselves, you know, that we'll be in a better position. That's one component. But what is seldom talked about is education. You're not going to be financially viable if you're not educated. If you don't see things through an African perspective, then you're not going to be economically substantiate yourself or your race. So that was one of the main reasons. And then, like I said, I began to see things for what they are and not what they present themselves to be. For instance, when you look at the Board of Education in the school system, it's being taught by predominantly white individuals, and 75% of them are females. Out of that 75%, 25% are married to law enforcement officers. So here it is, you have the white female that mentally miseducates you, then you have the white male that physically incarcerates you. So they work hand in hand. And if you don't see that for what it is and what it presents itself to be, then everything else, you're not going to understand it. I think that what is happening is that we are still dealing with the regiments of slavery. There is a gene, and it's called the phenotype gene, and it talks about how the regiments of slavery is passed down to 7 generations. And I think right now we're dealing with what happened to us from slavery, and it does have us at a disadvantage because, you know, like Marcus Garvey said, we are a people that's cursed by petty differences, and until we overcome them differences, we're going to be in the position that we're in. So we have to overcome the disunity, the dislike amongst us. But if you look at mainstream media, yeah, you will say that we are our worst enemies. But if you look into the community and if you're part of the community, then you see black people every day that's doing the right thing, that's loving on each other and trying to push this race forward.
I heard you say something very disturbing. And if I could remember vaguely, you said something about our young boys are not reading on the level, young boys and young women are not reading on the level they supposed to be in. So by the time they get of age, it's most likely that some of them will end up in prison or something like that. Do you recall?
Yes, absolutely.
Clear that up for us, brother. Talk more about that.
All right.
The system as well as that.
If you're not reading on grade level by the time you're in the 3rd or 4th grade, then there's a 75% chance that you're going to end up in prison. And we talk about that in the first documentary. But since doing research, I have since learned that it's the third grade that they're able to track it. But this process begins long before that. This process begins in preschool. This process begins before you even enter kindergarten, before you enter preschool, because during that time of your first day at school, there's certain amount of vocabulary words that you should either be familiar with or you should have heard. We, as African Americans, we lack 50% of the vocabulary of other ethnic groups. Not only that, statistically, those that come from impoverished communities are not read to as other ethnic group as they do their children. So some of the time, we have to take the blame. And as parents, we have to read to our kids. We have to read to them from the time they are in the womb. Because there's a connection between the mother and the child. And these are the child's informative years. So the mother is the first teacher, and she should be the one to mold the mind of that child.
Mm-hmm. Okay, my brother. Talk to us a little more about the prison pipeline, about the prison system and stuff like that.
Well, the prison system
versus our education.
The prison system and the educational system work hand in hand simply for the fact that you can be suspended from school, you can be arrested at school for something that they call willful defiance. And that is simply a teacher telling you to sit down and you took longer than she wanted you to sit down. That can actually get you suspended from school. And statistically, those that are suspended once usually get suspended twice, and then this sets them on the path because they usually drop out. 50% of those that are suspended twice drop out. And once you drop out, you're in the streets, and they say that an idle mind is the devil's workshop. But this is the problem. The same offense that a black child does, a white child is not punished for. So there's a disparity in the sentence of suspension and the expulsion rates of black children. So this is where it leads to them being adjudicated juvenile delinquents and ending up in the court system. So when we talk about the school to prison pipeline, it's essentially taking you from the schoolyard to the prison yard. And we see that time and time again. There was a documentary called Cash for Kids, where there was a judge that was incarcerating individuals, and he was getting a kickback from the prison system. Mm-hmm. All you got to do is always follow the money.
So when you look at the curriculums of our children versus the curriculum of the European children, let's get some likes on the video, family. Thumb it up. That they seek to dumb us down to keep our kids stupid. Let's get some likes on the video. Versus, because I'm telling you, man, we got to keep it real. When I look at the Chinese kids, they smart as hell. They reading. They on some high technology shit. Y'all know that's some real shit, y'all. Come on, man. Y'all know that's real. Their whole curriculum is totally different from the schools that we send our kids to. Totally different from us.
And you know why that is?
Why?
Because a lot of that is reinforced at home. And that's what we have to do. School doesn't start at 8 o'clock when the bell rings, and it doesn't end at 3 o'clock. So we have to start enforcing our values. And if you're unfortunate and you have to send your child to a public school, when they come home, you have to re-educate them. And I think that's what a lot of parents are not doing. And when we're talking about, to answer your question, when we're talking about curriculums, when you go to school, most children, they go to school that's named after their oppressors. You know, your child is going to a school named Robert E. Lee, who was a Confederate general that was fighting to have slavery continue. You know, so we have to be mindful of that. And then you have a European teacher that's teaching you the magnificent language about the Queen's English, about adverbs and pronouns. Kids don't want to learn that, you know, because when that same queen that you're talking about is the same queen that commissioned Columbus to come over here and wreak havoc on America. So we have to be mindful that, and I don't think that we give kids the credit that they deserve. A lot of them are more smarter than we think they are. So when you teaching from this Eurocentric perspective, it's not resonating with the kids. So when they're not interested in it, you wonder why. But you go and you look at several different schools around the country, and I'll give you an example. One of them is the Freedom Home Academy by Marcus Klein, and you see the magnificent brain power of these youth that are able to pronounce words that I can't even say, and they're in the third and in the fourth grade. So our kids resonate and they want to learn just like any other kids, but it has to be us that's teaching them. It has to be people that has, a genuine heart for these kids, because our youth do not care about what you know until they know that you care about them. Mm-hmm. And that's when they begin to learn.
All right. We forgot to mention some of the heavy hitters you have featured in your documentary. Can you give us some of them names so that people could know that this is a real documentary here that you got going on?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I'm just gonna name the names. I can't remember which actual documentary they in because there's so many of them. But for starters, we have Daruba Ben Wahad. We had Kalanji Chenga. We have Dr. Boyce Watkins. We have Dr. Umar Johnson. We have rapper Killer Mike. We have Zaza Ali. We have Dr. Khalila Ali. We have Shahrazad Ali. We also have our great grandmaster teacher, Dr. Frances Cress Welson.
And I heard you got her last.
Yeah, one of her last interviews right before she transitioned. We also have Professor James Small. We have Kaba Kenley. We have David Banner, Professor Ed Gons, just a host of individuals, some known and some unknown. We put together a dynamic lineup of individuals.
Mm-hmm. Well, brother, congratulations on your award last year. You went up against some heavy hitters, and I think that's the best victory you can get when you go up against somebody that's powerful. You see what I'm saying? Like you went up against Tariq Nasheed, and I'm even was like, yo, how the hell this dude get the win over Tariq? But when I seen the documentaries that you had, and I said, oh, okay, this dude ain't no slouch either. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's powerful, brother.
Yeah, shout out to that brother.
Yeah,
man.
shout out to Tariq
Nasheed. Tariq Nasheed, I'm a big fan of Hidden Colors, and 1804 is phenomenal. I love his film. It's a lot of brothers out here that are doing documentaries. You have a brother that Amadeus Christ, Out of Darkness. You just have several different individuals that's doing documentaries, and I think our youth are gravitating towards it, because since the advent of social media, a lot of people are getting the information online, and the moving and visual image is how they're digesting this information, and I was able to see that early on. So that's another reason why I got into documentary filmmaking. But we do still read now. Don't get it messed up. We still read because there's a lot of information that you're not going to find online. I still read the opinions of Marcus Garvey. I still read Dr. John Henry Clark, Ivan Van Sertima books, and I'm actually working on a book myself.
Oh, what's the name of that?
The name of that book is called Radical Hope in the 21st Century, and it's an anthology.
All right. Talk to us about what Dr. Umar would always talk about, Ritalin, and how they hit our children with these
psychological drugs.
right.
Yeah,
And how that affects them.
Oh yeah, that is
ADHD and all that stuff.
yeah, it has a detrimental effect on our youth. If you look at the drugs, it's a class A drugs, right up there with cocaine, with heroin, and I think it's unfortunate that a lot of parents are allowing them to prescribe these medicines to the kids, and you have to look at the long-term effect that it's going to have, and like I always say, you got to follow the money. Who benefits? Anytime that your kid is designated as learning disabled, the school gets more money for that kid because they have to, special attention to them. The pharmacy makes money, and it's a racket. And what that was intended for, because they could no longer segregate the kids in the classroom. So what they do is they put all the black kids in special ed. Online, I always get individuals that tell me how this documentary inspired them. I know for a fact, I got phone calls from 2 individuals that tell me they're using it as a dissertation in their school, for their degree. So I think that, it might not be individuals that have names per se that is out supporting it, but overall the community is definitely supporting it.
Right, and you've been putting up your own money for these documentaries, brother.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because anytime, you have other individuals that fund your project, sometimes you're gonna have to compromise your vision. And this was something that it was no compromise, no surrender, no retreat. And a few individuals have approached me after the success of the first one. And they all had hidden agendas, as you would know. And I refused to take the money. And, the money that I got from the first one, it put me in a position to do the second one, and the second one put me in a position to do the third one. And a lot of people are asking me, when are you going to drop Elementary Genocide 4? And there won't be no 4. And this is the reason why, Sonetta. And our documentaries, the last 20 minutes is dedicated to solutions. It's solution orientated. So that's why I like to tell people that this documentary is a call to action. And we gave you the solution. So if you didn't get it in 1, you didn't get it in 2, and you didn't get it in 3, then you're not really trying to utilize the solution or find the solution to the problem. And I think that there's other social justice issues that need to be talked about and need to be documented. And I'm going to do that. Not just with me, myself. I'm looking to collaborate with other individuals because I got the formula, and I'm just trying to recreate the magic for our other brothers and sisters.
You know what I always say when people talk about solutions? I always revert back and says, what better solution can anybody give you that Dr. Francis Cress Welsing ain't already give us?
Absolutely.
That Dr. Amos Wilson have not given us yet. That the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that Clarence 13X, Minister Clarence 13X, Father Allah, have not given us yet. See, we use these words because it sounds cute and it make it sound like we're saying something like, oh man, what's the solution? What's the solution? So many of our greats, men and women, have given us the solution. We just didn't use it yet. The Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, build for self.
Absolutely.
When we going to start that right there in itself? Build your own schools, build your own hospitals, build your own goddamn police force. That solution right there in itself, when we're going to start taking heed to it.
And another thing Elijah Muhammad said, he said separation is better than prayer. But our people refuse to separate. He also told us that there are 3 things that the open enemy is not going to teach you.
Can we get some thumbs up on the video, family? We at 95. We should at least be at 150 right now. Let's get some thumbs up and some likes.
and take it upon ourselves to do that. That's our responsibility. We shouldn't be looking outside of ourselves for anybody to teach us, to lead us. We have to accept our own responsibility. When you look at the word responsibility, respond to your ability. And we have the ability to do that, people, because we are the holders and keepers of ourselves and our predicament.
Yeah, what do you think about the shooting that just took place today? I know you heard about it.
Nah, I've been traveling.
In Florida.
I've been traveling.
And of course, as Europeans, kids that's 13, 14 years old.
What they shot up this time?
Shooting up the school. Shooting up the school and the students that's in the school. But they so busy worrying about us and worried about gun control with us.
Yeah.
You worried about the wrong people, bro.
Yeah.
You don't see black people running up in movie theaters, shooting up the movie theater, shooting up the post office. So, we don't do that crazy stuff.
The sins of the fathers is visited upon the heads of the children.
What do you think about being nominated for the Sonetta TV Awards, bro?
Oh, man, I am elated. And this is the reason why. I got 15 awards, right, sitting on my mantle at home. And the Black Power Award and the Black Humanitarian of the Year Award from Mogul Magazine is probably the two awards that stand out the most for me, because those was given to me by my people. And when I say my people, I'm talking about individuals that's unapologetically black. And those awards mean a lot. The Sonetta Award, being nominated from that, probably means a lot more than those two awards, because you had your humble beginning and your humble start right here in Harlem. This is my birthplace from Harlem. So everything happens in 360, you know what I mean? So it just means I just got to come back home and see if I be honored to get that award, whether I win or not. Just being nominated and being able to share the stage and seeing whoever else won, being able to congratulate them and show what black excellence and what black love.
When you was told that you was nominated for the Black Power Awards and you found out the categories, and you see Tariq. Was Tariq in there? Was he named in there or no? He wasn't
in the
even.
Black Power Awards?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, he wasn't even nominated.
No, he wasn't.
Oh, okay. Oh, damn. I thought you knew he was going up against. But man, listen, you nominated with Tariq Nasheed. Who's the other brother? The brother that did Kryptonite. He did a documentary called Kryptonite. That's bad. That's dealing with health.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I know the brother. The brother.
Yeah, he did that.
It's Urban Kryptonite.
There you go,
Yeah.
Urban Kryptonite.
Yeah.
He did that documentary. So you going up against heavy hitters in this one right here, brother.
Yeah, and I salute.
And all of y'all deserve that, man. All three of you brothers, man.
Yeah.
So I could only say congratulations to all you brothers. I wish you all the best, my man.
But you know what? The winning award is good, but the highlight of the moment was just witnessing black power and black love.
Yes.
It was so many people, from all over the world that descended in Atlanta for that monumental day. And it's going to be the same way July 7th
Right.
here in New York City.
At 4 o'clock sharp.
4 o'clock sharp. And then not only that, you get to wear your African attire and you dress your best, and you get to see our women come out. You know how we do. We show up and we show out.
Now,
so that's what I'm looking for.
For this one, you can wear your African attire, or you can come in your grown man attire.
Okay.
As long as you smelling good and looking good and walking that red carpet, the black carpet.
As you should be. As you should.
I ain't gonna put stimulations on my people. I let them rock what they want to rock. No sneakers.
No sneakers.
No sneakers though.
No
sneakers. Yeah, man. So tell us a little something more, man, about what's your plans and what you got coming up with this movement that you got going on.
Well, like I said earlier, I want to recreate the movement and, help other individuals, because I think I'm in a unique position. The trials and tribulations I went through with doing the documentary. I'm talking about from researching it. You know, if you can't fund it, you know, there's grant money out there that you can acquire to do it. And just taking them from script to screen and showing them how to do it. And also showing them how to self-distribute it, where you don't have to go to or wait for anybody to give you a distribution deal. You know, you can self-distribute it by yourself. And that's what I was able to do. And I actually had a distribution deal where I worked with an individual for 3 years. And, you know, it was non-exclusive. I negotiated my whole entire contract. So I'm in a position to help other people do that. And I had individuals approach me. So I'm working on doing that. And like I said, I'm working on the book. You know, are you looking at it right now?
No, I'm looking at it. I see you got Sandra Bland on the back of this right here. You got Tamir Rice. You got Trayvon Martin. So you going in on part 3?
Oh yeah, we going in.
Oh man! And I noticed you had Cynthia McKinney.
Yeah, Cynthia McKinney.
You got some real heavy hitters here.
Yeah, and she's not holding nothing back.
Right.
You know, and that's one of the things.
I'm surprised you ain't got Professor Griff though.
Well, you know what? To be honest with you, Professor Griff. Initially, when I had spoke to him about it, he told me, he said, brother, you know who would be best for you? He said, Umar Johnson. And I said, I just finished speaking to Umar. He said, that's your man. You know, so yeah, he didn't, yeah, Professor Griff didn't want to be in it. But he got something going on. You know, he's working on something out from what I hear.
Oh, okay. Okay. So is there anything else you would like to let our people know, brother?
I just want our people to know that when we're dealing with education, we have to know how important it is and how imperative it is that we teach it to our youth. Education is the great equalizer. When you go back to the 1800s and you look at an individual like Carter G. Woodson, who was born the son of a slave, and he worked the cotton fields of South Carolina, and he didn't start high school until he was 21. He was 20 years old. He went on to graduate at Harvard, and he got his PhD. He finished his coursework for his PhD in 1 year, and this was in the 1800s. Why was he able to do that? Because he knew that education was the great equalizer. When you look at Mary Bethune, she was one of 17 children born to former slaves. Her parents knew out of 17 children, one of them has to make it. And she went on to open up her own school for black children. Why was she able to succeed? Because her parents knew that education was a great equalizer. And we have to realize that. If they was able to do that in the 1800s, what the hell are we waiting for in 2018?
Mm-hmm. What is your stance on voting? Do you think our people need to begin to get into the process of voting if we really going to make some moves, if we really want to call some shots, and we got to have some money behind us? We can't just go in there and cry. See, that's why I feel that we ain't getting no shot and we ain't getting no chance, because all we do as black people is cry about why you ain't helping us. But see, it takes money.
Absolutely.
If you feed these politicians like the Dominican family is doing, like the Jewish family is doing,
that's real talk, y'all. I know y'all don't like that, but that's real.
It's all about the money.
And
all we do is cry and want them to help us.
I don't think
but they only helping those
Chinese
who
politicians.
finance them.
I think one time I seen him, they had him on CNN, and he was, you know, they was asking him some questions or whatever.
Right.
But there's no Chinese politicians for their constituents.
Right.
The reason why is because they go to anybody and they are a voting bloc that has money and has political power. Now, to answer your question, how I feel about voting in politics, all politics are local. I think what we don't do is we don't take the voting locally as serious as we should. And I'll give you an instance. In the United States, there's 2,400 DAs that get voted into office. These are the ones that are locking black and brown youth up to the point that there's 2.5 million individuals incarcerated, right? 80% of those DAs ran unopposed. 75% of those DAs are white. We need to put our own people in there. And when we do put our own people in there, because a lot of times, we get caught up in black faces in high places, we got to hold them accountable. We got to hold their feet to the fire, because we see that we have more black senators, mayors than any other time before. And we still in the same position. So a lot of times it's not just about, getting someone that's black in there. Is he unapologetically black? And that's why I don't know, it might be too early. The jury's still out on it. But the sister that they nominated in Atlanta for mayor, Sister Keisha Bottoms, what she did, she has a transitional team. And Killer Mike and T.I. is on her transitional team. So I want to see how that works out. We have to start locally. Because one of the things, even with the school-to-prison pipeline, right? As parents, you need to be proactive in the school board. You need to be proactive in the PTA meetings. And from the PTA meetings, you need to elect those parents that are unapologetic to be on the school board, because the school board is the one decide who the superintendent is going to be, and the superintendent is the one that hires the principal. And once we do that, neighborhood to neighborhood, we can start taking back our school system.
Right. Dr. Reggie comes along and he always say, we need to begin to take over the cities. And just like you, I agree with you 100%. We got to, and I've been saying this for the longest, we got to shape and mold the minds of our youth.
Absolutely.
And bring them up, letting them know, this is what you got to do. You got to come back. You're going to be our savior, young man. You going out there.
There you go.
You going to get this education.
Let them know their responsibility.
Mold them, and have them run for mayor.
Do you know the brother that was in Detroit, that was the mayor? They called him the hip-hop mayor, that's sitting in jail now?
Nah.
Kwame Kilpatrick.
So what happened?
Corruption. But if you watch the documentary of the brother, there was the local clergy, the politicians, and the business people. Everyone got together and they had a closed door meeting, and they selected him. They put their money behind him, and they got him in there. Now, when he got in there, it was a whole different story. But this is the process that needs to be done. And like you said, we have to mold and shape their minds for when they're young, and then put them in that position.
So what did he do? He was robbing, stealing, or what the hell did he do?
A lot of corruptions. He went down for corruption, kickbacks, money, a whole bunch of it. It was just a lot. Look it up. He called the hip hop mayor. It's a documentary about him. Yeah, it's ugly.
Damn.
And he's not the first, he's not the first politician. And that's another thing, a lot of these politicians, they accept kickbacks and they get money for these corporations to come in the community and rob us. And they get these contracts. And a lot of times they don't get caught. But when you black, you always under the microscope. They're always looking at you. And that's the way they get you out of office. Or if not, they don't do that, then they redistrict your area so that more white people can vote, and they put their people in there.
How is the school system out there in Atlanta? Because I know you've been visiting some of them. How are they out there?
The school system in Atlanta is the same as it is in New York. You got good schools and you got bad schools. But the problem is the parents. And I say that to say this. Parents, certain parents, I don't want to make this inclusive of everybody, You know, because I don't want y'all saying, you said parents. No, this is not all parents. But they don't understand that 2 plus 2 equals 4 in New York, and 2 plus 2 equals 4 in Scarsdale. 2 plus 2 equals 4 in Atlanta, in Buckhead, as well as in Bankhead. And I think that a lot of parents like to send their kids to schools that are deemed better because it's in a suburban neighborhood or it's mostly white. And the problem with that is because they come and they talk to me about the things that's going on with their kids, and a lot of time it's racism, the kids is being picked on, and you think that they're getting a superior education when they're not. And a lot of times they're disconnected from their own culture and their own people. And see, these are the ones that when they get in position of power and they become politicians, they're so far removed from the people that they vote against the best interests of their people. The ones that are rooted in the African tradition don't do that because they know who they are, they know what their position is, and they know what they got to do for their people.
Homosexuality in the public schools today, I think is going to become a part of the curriculum where the children are now going to have to be learning about homosexuality. Have you heard anything on that?
Oh, there's an article right now online where it said Black History Month. They had the Black Lives Matter flag that they put up in the school, and they had certain guidelines that they wanted, and one of them was that no gender, a gender-free bathroom, and to teach tolerance for homosexuality. And I don't think that that's the school's position to do that. You know.
Hold on. I'm glad you said that because my next question was, do you think they are crossing the line when they want to do that and teach your child? And I think that's our job as parents to talk about that. So do you think they're crossing the line when they do it?
Absolutely, absolutely. Let me tell you something, right? For those of our people that like Hillary Clinton, she has a book out. It's called It Takes a Village. Yeah. She stole the African proverb. Mm-hmm. In that book, she says the government job is to teach and train every child. The parent is secondary. Whoa. Go read that. It's in her book. Don't take nothing I tell you on face value.
That right there.
So, when you have schools that are teaching homosexuality to young kids that has no idea about that, they come to school to learn. They don't come to school to learn about that. Then you know that there is a systematic plan. And if you understand the whole notion of school, it is to teach you to go along with America's social order, for you to become a consumer and not a producer. When you go back and you look at how school started in 1850s, it was called compulsory schooling. Look that up, family. Every state was in compliance with that, except a small town in Massachusetts. It was called Cape Cod. And what they did, they had armed militias go from door to door, round all the kids up, and march them with arms to school. So that's why it's mandatory that you send your kids to school, because they want to indoctrinate them. And they're doing a pretty good job of it. But there's a solution to that as well. And that's why you need to homeschool your kids. You need to send them to an Afrocentric school.
But when you say homeschool, it's not as easy as it sounds. Most of the parents don't even have a goddamn education, brother. And the parents are becoming younger and younger.
Well, a lot of people, when you talk about homeschool, you probably would think that they got to at least have associate's degree. You don't have to have associate's degree. You can have an equivalent of a high school diploma, which is a GED, in order to homeschool. Another thing, a lot of people say, well, I don't have the time.
Because they're working, right.
Let me explain something to you. I don't know how in every state, but in certain states, you teach 4 hours. You teach 4 days a week. You teach 3 hours. You get to pick the hours, so you can make the time for it. You can even make the time now for your child while they're in their formative years, or you can spend 10 to 15 years going to visit them in the penitentiary. You decide.
Yeah, man.
Because I know my father, he wasn't too happy about coming up in the mountains to come see me, you know. But that's the reality of it. If you don't take the time to educate and teach your child, then you're going to be visiting them in the penitentiary. And sometimes you can take the time to teach them, but they just don't listen. And you still going to have to visit them in the penitentiary. And that's what happened with me. I didn't listen, but I'm listening now, though.
All right, my brother. Do you do workshops? Do you do lectures around the country? Do you do speaking engagements?
Yes, absolutely.
How do you go about doing that? If one wanted to get a copy of your DVD, if one wanted to contact you to come out into their community and speak, how should the people go about that?
Anybody that's interested in speaking with me, you can contact me on social media, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and everything is at Rahiem Shabazz. If you want to purchase the documentary, you can go to elementarygenocide.com.
Okay. And you got part 1, 2, and 3.
I got part 1, 2, and 3. And guess what? If you buy 1, 2, and 3, you don't pay no shipping and handling. We're going to take care of that for you.
Wow. Well, let the family see the shirt you just gave me.
Oh, yeah.
Let them see the shirt.
I just blessed the brother with this shirt right here.
Yeah, hold it up, son. Yeah. Yes, sir. I'm going to definitely rock that on my joint. Yeah, beautiful.
You know, education is the gift that keeps on giving. You know, they can take everything else from you, but they can't take your education. They can't take, you know, your critical thinking away from you. And that's why it was against the law for us to read.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't want to give you the education. So what make you think they're trying to give it to you and educate you now? When you go in these public schools and you see these Neanderthals teaching your children, ask them how many kids they got. What age is little Bobby? What school did little Bobby go to? Because if they giving you the best education that could be afforded to a child, why they kids are not there? See, these are fundamental questions that you need to ask yourself. You ain't even got to ask them. You ask yourself, why they kids don't go to the same school? I know if I was a teacher, I would want to keep a watchful eye on my kids, and it would make sense for the kid to go to the same school that I work at, because as he's getting off of school, I'm getting out of work. You ain't got to get a babysitter. You just go pick up your son. Why they kids don't go to that same school? No, because they got little Bobby out in a private school.
All right, my brother. So in closing, man, what else you have for the people? What else you would like to give the people?
Peace and black power, man. And let's rise up, man. Let's rise to the occasion, man, and show black excellence.
Right. July the 7th, y'all be in town.
All right, I'm going to give you a quick drop, y'all. Peace and black power, family. This is Rahiem Shabazz right here on Sonetta TV. You know what it is, what it was, and what it could be. July 7th, Sonetta Awards. Make sure you be in the building.
Peace.
Peace.
Right.